All right, welcome in. It is episode 111 of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast here. We have a whole lot going on. We've reached the final week of the NFL season. We're going to be going over the playoff scenarios. Should be a wild weekend of NFL football of who is in, who is out. We have a national championship game set for college football, and we're going to recap the games from the previous weeks here, and we're going to start off with the Rose Bowl because the Michigan Wolverines are playing for a national title.
That they are.
What a game. What a setting. It's the way football should be played. It was a knockdown, drag out, bury your soul naked type of football game in a classic with the sun setting over the San Gabriel Mountains, the college football's most iconic stadium. Michigan came out on top.
Dylan, football's most iconic stadium. Step aside, Lambeau. You aren't that.
Okay, good.
It's over. It's over.
Well, if there's somebody that thinks Lambeau is the most iconic stadium, that just shows how irrelevant they are and how out of touch they are because, well, and Stephen A. Smith you can also put there too because he also just said today, I think it was today, that they should be playing the Rose Bowl at SoFi Stadium.
Well, he's an idiot, and he should take a $5 million pay cut.
Oh my God.
He should take a $5 million pay cut a year for saying something so outlandish.
And do you know why he said that, I guess? Is so he could helicopter there and doesn't have to deal with traffic.
Oh,
just sticking your nose up that, I am better than you.
You elite ESPN personality. Get out of here.
He should not be the highest paid ESPN employee just for saying that.
No, it should be Pat McAfee.
Should be. That show's about to get taken off the air because one of his guests said Jimmy Kimmel was on the Epstein list.
Thanks, Aaron.
But
yeah. Honestly, how that show's even on there is beyond me.
Well, they had the counter for how many times and how many minutes on the air someone didn't say the F word when they made the switch. And Pat and his crew, they were doing great. And then he brought J.J. Watt on a Wednesday. And within 2 minutes, J.J. ruined it. And I think it happened 2 or 3 times in that same interview when he goes, God damn it, I'm not used to these regulations again on here with you, Pat.
Because I think he had it like 4 or 5 years ago, really when he took off, when he actually went to he was like he had a daily show.
Yeah.
And I think they were on like Westwood 1 and they got dinged by the FCC a handful of times, but back to the Rose Bowl here. And it was the first half. Michigan felt like they could have been up by about two or three scores, but they had a muff punt. They had a couple of times where they were moving the ball well and had a penalty or take a sack, shoot themselves in the foot, and then Alabama scored off the touchdown and got a field goal right before half, and it was a 3-point game. And then third quarter was pretty much turned into a bit of an Iowa game where it turned into more of a field position game, and Alabama took advantage of a short field off of some bad punting by Michigan. Their special teams was abysmal all day. Especially end of game, the muff punt earlier, the botched field goal. Thought it was the Quinn Nordine era of special teams at Michigan.
You made the Gophers special teams look good.
Yeah.
And if there's 2 things in the world that are the worst at what they are, it's Big Ten officiating and Gopher special teams.
Outside of the kicker this year, that's it. Everything else.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I saw that their quarterback transferred to Rutgers, and I don't know if this is a good move because we all know how the last time a Minnesota quarterback transfer to Rutgers went. Grant, do you know anything about that? Do you know anything about that guy?
I pray to God Athlon is over 21 years old, and someone at that bar is home with their 8 month it's at home with someone whose wife is 8 months pregnant. That's all I pray and ask for.
Yes, and now that's twice now we've gotten off track here, but Alabama is up 7, and it was not looking good. It was here we go. It's classic Michigan choking in the big moment. The pain, misery, suffering never ends. And I was not good. I was getting all sorts of texts, people being
Dylan,
very cocky.
Can I say something real quick on that, Dylan?
Sure.
You messaged me when Alabama was going down when they were up 17-13, and they had a couple nice runs where Michigan was missing tackles, and this is when I saw the first sense of doubt in you. You go, they're missing tackles. This was a fun year. It's over. And I was going to be my best to be your emotional support animal, and I said, nope, they got to dig deep, like those winter workouts. You never work harder in your life than you do in college football. Hang in there and make a play. That's why you work so hard in February and March when it seems outlandish for games like Monday.
Correct. And the defense holds. They got a sack that pushed in, and Alabama's kicker, Nick Saban just wasted the best kicker he's ever had in his time at Alabama in Reichert.
Did he win a national title as a freshman during the COVID year, Reichert?
He might have, but it was the COVID year. And we'll count that one because they beat Ohio State.
They beat Ohio State.
Actually count, yeah. So that national title, there's some exceptions to the rule that they were Mickey Mouse championships. Sam Houston's spring FCS title over South Dakota State, the Bucks Chiefs Super Bowl.
Ethan would argue. Well, no, the Bucks were the definitive champs there. That's not a Mickey Mouse title.
No, I'm saying that that was some of the exceptions, but the Lakers Dodgers championships, we don't count.
Yes. And Ethan doesn't count the Gophers COVID year either. Correct, Ethan?
No.
I don't count the Michigan year, so
we only count UCF's national championship.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
And we would have counted Florida State if they would have actually beaten Georgia or showed up or at least showed some sort of a pulse, which part of it was Michigan defended Florida State's honor by being an undefeated team left out. And I right before that drive, I texted you, Grant, and I said, time to go be a legend, JJ. I tweeted that out. And he etched his name into Michigan lore, leading them on a 75-yard drive. And it was right the final that final drive is like I just decided I'm gonna record my reactions and see. And there's a good one of me doing the surrender cobra on the fourth and 2 Corum catch when Roman Wilson got the rub route. Well, no, it wasn't the rub route. He got the block in the back.
Oh yeah.
And then there's also I should post that onto our YouTube. And there's a good clip of me calling him a dumbass because he was.
Classic.
Wow. That's so
and
mean.
I am just telling the truth. It was a very dumb thing of him to do, push a guy in the back.
And he redeemed himself.
Luckily they had enough yards that it didn't matter. They still got the first down. They were still at midfield. Go down, score. JJ McCarthy has an incredible throw, which watching it live, it looked like it was tipped. And I saw the tip, and I'm like, no, it's going to get intercepted. And then all of a sudden, Roman Wilson comes out of the nowhere, catches it, and gets down closer to the goal line. And then
Dylan,
showing it again, it was like.
Dylan, on that note, JJ must have spun that as hard as he possibly could.
Oh, yeah.
Because that ball, it was tipped, but it was still that tight spiral, and it was humming along. Had that been a week 8 pass against Purdue, that's going the other way.
Yeah, and that's the only reason because it looked like it was tipped, but like you have to have a pretty good set of eyes to realize it because it hardly ever broke a spiral at all.
Yeah.
And
actually looking at the replay, Dylan, had it not been tipped, it may have been intercepted because he would have maybe thrown it a touch farther than what he should.
It could have been.
You never know.
That just speaks to the arm strength he has too.
Yeah.
Caden McNamara, as much as I loved Cade, he doesn't have the spin on that ball. There's not many quarterbacks in college football that can. The guy that Michigan's going to be playing in the national title has that type of spin, but not many after those two.
It's certainly not Burrow.
No. And they go score, and then you have to sweat out the extra point, and then the final sequence, the punt, which I have no idea what was going on, and then they kept taking timeouts, which made no sense, and just to kneel it, I was like, what's going on? Let's just get to overtime. Then it gets to overtime, and then Blake Corum breaks the all-time rushing touchdown record at Michigan with that run.
Who did he break, Dylan? Was that Mike
It was
Hart?
Anthony Thomas.
Okay.
Anthony Thomas. Anthony Carter was a receiver. But he was actually one of the original number ones, the famous number one to wear receivers for Michigan. And then Alabama gets the ball back, and Milroe had a nice run that got him a first down and got it to first and goal. And then on second down, huge play by Mason Graham, who was the Rose Bowl defensive MVP, breaks through, gets a tackle for a loss, and then third down, they get it back to the 3. One of the only plays Jermaine Burton made all game, who said that once he gets on the field, the only thing he's going to be thinking about is death.
Was it death or was it murder he was looking at?
Murder or death? Yeah,
something along
his
those
college
lines.
career is dead, so his college career was murdered. So game mattered most. The team that always makes these plays in these situations is Alabama. The team that always loses it is Michigan. And you can question the call, but I think, Alabama had trouble with snapping the ball all game. And McLaughlin, I'm not sure if it was, it had to be in his head. He had to have like the yips or something, but that snap on that fourth down was a bad snap, which, looking at it, in which everybody is speculating the RPO that they had, it was a good play call, but Milroe panicked. He didn't have much time, so he just took off and run. And Michigan's D-line, like they did all day, stepped up to the task, clogged the hole, didn't let him get through, and Michigan is going off to the lovely, wonderful city of Houston.
I definitely don't think that was an RPO. I think that was designed QB run. The D end actually went out like they wanted them to. He had a lane. If he would have looked to his left, he would have walked in. I saw a video on Twitter.
A low snap like that just causes everything to just go in panic or chaos.
He had a lane for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, who knows? To your point, maybe he could have gone left, but then if he would have liked it, he could have thrown it too.
Right.
But you see the stuff going around the internet, Dylan, to your point. He dumps it off to the left-hand side. It's 3-on-2. More than likely, he walks into the end zone. And then at that point, does Alabama go for 2, or does Saban kick the extra point and say, let's play on? I'm just curious.
I think Saban kicks it.
Yeah, I think he kicks it.
I do too.
It would have been curious if Michigan scored with like 10 seconds or so less. I would have been curious to see if Michigan would have went for 2, try and get the ball back.
You see, with how dominant, how dominant, Dylan, for me, their D-line was all game, and how really Alabama couldn't get a consistent offense going. Would they have 270 yards in the day? If I'm Harbaugh, I'm trusting my defense, and I'm kicking.
Yeah.
It's not like you're a huge underdog, and you can't go up against these guys.
Yeah,
guard was so bad.
I think maybe because they missed a kick, and then they
That's true.
Botched the snap on the PAT. That's kind of where I was possibly thinking maybe they just go for it, don't let it go, be in the hands of a kicker. But it worked out, and Michigan has plenty left to play for. They can certainly play a lot better, and they're going to have to against a really good Washington team. Which let's go to that game. It was, I don't know, it felt like a weird game to me where Washington led the whole way, but it never felt like I thought Washington was in total control, just because it didn't seem like they were able to run the ball. Texas was still moving the ball at a good clip, but they would, they'd have some penalties. They'd turn the ball over. And Texas was just sloppy, nervous, and, to Washington's credit, they did a good job of executing. They, a lot of deep balls. And defensively, Washington did a good job of keeping Texas behind the sticks. They won on first and second down, making it obvious passing situations for Ewers, and They didn't get the run game going until later, but when they did, they were still averaging 7 yards a carry. But the self-inflicted wounds were a little bit too much. Penix was sensational. I think he should get serious, and if it was up to me, I would take him with the number 1 pick in the draft. I like him over Caleb Williams. I think he's got more intangibles than Caleb. I mean, Michael Penix, was first 4 years of college, he found himself injured, and that's probably one of the deterring factors as to why he isn't there's more discussion about him being the number 1 pick. But I also think there needs to be a lot to be said that the last 2 years he's been at Washington, he has stayed on the field. He has played well. And that's a credit to him putting in the work in the offseason, is building up his body and developing a game from the pocket, not relying on his legs as much, where he's turned more into a quarterback who can run rather than a running quarterback. And then at the end of the game, just a unfortunate injury to Dylan Williams, which gave Texas 47 seconds instead of what would have been about 20 seconds. And Texas went right down the field, and Sark actually called a really good play at the end there, that if Ewers actually throws the ball where it's supposed to be thrown, we're talking about a Texas-Michigan matchup instead of a Texas-Washington matchup. But the great play by the defensive back from Washington, and and you give him his credit, and we have a matchup, a national title matchup between Michigan and Washington.
Well, yeah, and I think you just with this Washington game, the reason why I felt confident in Texas going into the game was I thought they were better up front on both sides of the ball. And when Texas got the ball running on offense, they were, and they didn't let Washington run the ball all night. But that Texas pass rush just was not there with the athletes they have. Up front with Sweat and Anthony Hill Jr. I thought they could get after Michael Penix. And let's not kid ourselves here. This Washington offense is an NFL offense. With the concepts they run, the speed they have in their quarterback, you can't cover guys for 4 to 5 seconds against this Washington team. If you do, you're going to be in trouble. And Texas learned that the hard way. What did Michael Penix finish with? 449 yards.
It was something like that.
I think it was like the second most in a semifinal game, like of all time. And I don't care what you're doing. Anytime you let a quarterback throw for over 400 yards, you're not going to win that game.
And on top of that, they went over for 100 rushing yards too. So it wasn't like they were just straight up one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they moved the ball at will. And even, in the second half, when they settled for all those field goals, they were still moving the ball, and they were deep in Texas territory. Texas's defense finally had enough and finally showed up and, made a play. You wonder if Texas was out in Bourbon Street a little too much, on New Year's Eve, and they had a little fun, and they were like, oh, yeah, shoot, we got a football game to play.
29 of 38 for 430 yards was
430. Okay.
Was Penix.
I knew it was 430.
So, and it was, it was late. It was a late game. I was glad that game didn't have to go to overtime, but those last 2 drives defensively where Texas moved the ball and then in the red zone, unable to come away with a touchdown. If Texas is able to come away with a red zone the possession before, all Texas has to do is kick a field goal there.
Mm-hmm.
But Washington, their situational defense has come up big all season long, and it showed again in the Sugar Bowl here.
Well, and Dylan, like I told you last week, coming into this game, my biggest key to the game was Texas's red zone offense. They only scored a touchdown in 44% of their drives this year in the red zone. Or was it either 44% or 40 or 44th in the country? That's not going to cut it. That'll cut it in the Big 12 when they can have a lot of big plays, to Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, before Jonathan Brooks got hurt, and Sanders. But when you're playing a national championship caliber team who's beaten Oregon twice and won on the road at Oregon State and won a tough game at home against Washington State, that's not going to happen. It came back to bite Texas in the butt. And then those 2, second half turnovers, just drive killers.
Yeah, well, that one that their last turnover that they had, it was one of those most bizarre turnovers I've ever seen, where they ruled him down, and then they show the replay, and he was juggling it for about 5 yards.
Yeah.
And the Washington player, you could see it was like, no, he was not down. You need to challenge that right away. And they did, and they got it. But
Dylan, also one thing I noticed. I'm gonna go back to this Michigan game real quick. One thing I thought was really smart for them to do was just not line up in your classic Michigan, one back, two tight end set, one back and a fullback, and try to out physical Alabama. Because for the most part, you don't do that. And in the first half and in the second half, when they were get going, it was 11 personnel, 2 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers. They were spreading Alabama out. They made Alabama play with 3 defensive linemen. When Alabama shut Michigan down, they put 4 guys, 5 guys down the line of scrimmage, and they said, nope, JJ, you have to beat us. But when Michigan kind of spread them out a little bit and Alabama had to cover, and they could only have 5 guys in the box, it was to their advantage. And now I'm going back to the second game. You could see Texas was doing that to Washington, and that's when they were getting those 7 yards of carry. So I look for Michigan to do the same thing. Continue to kind of try to spread it out, but keep this power game going where you have a light box, and you can just lean on these guys, and hopefully wear them out in the second half.
Yeah, and we'll get to we'll finish the show with our national championship preview here. But for bowl picks, when we did it, I was actually in a bowl prediction pool. Do you want to take a guess of what my bowl prediction record is right now?
How many total bowls were there? Can I get a guess? Was there
42?
26? 42 bowls.
Or 40. There was 41. There's 42 total bowls. And
Jesus.
I missed the first one. I made my predictions right after the first game kicked off. So the only one I missed was the Ohio Georgia Southern game.
So
other than that, I had every bowl prediction.
So there's 40 bowl games.
41 or 40. Yeah, I have 41.
But you picked 40 of them?
There's 42 bowl games. I picked 41 of them.
I'm going to say you went 31-10.
Close.
I'll say 29 and 12.
32-9.
That's impressive.
Right? And I do have to give some thanks to you guys because I changed my picks based on some of what you guys said. We picked the Louisville USC game we all got wrong, but I originally had Miami, but you guys both went with Rutgers, so I went with Rutgers. And I was right picking Notre Dame to beat Oregon State. I believe I was going to pick Memphis. Well, I should have stuck with my guns with Memphis, but because Iowa State won that one, or no,
Memphis won that one.
Memphis did win, but
yeah,
changed it, and then the Ohio State Missouri game, you guys both picked Missouri. I was going to pick Ohio State just because, and same with Penn State, Ole Miss, but because usually with Ohio State, what we've seen, and this is from previous Ryan Day, or not Ryan Day, but Urban Meyer teams, is when they play in these bowl games, they actually will come out and play pretty well and act like they wanted to be there. Ohio State had no desire to be there. I think I saw something today that said a D lineman said that they practiced a total 6 times in the 21-day span, which clearly showed. And the Penn State Ole Miss, it was a battle of 2 coaches. Neither of them have really had a great bowl showing. James Franklin won the Rose Bowl last year, which is partially why I was going to pick Penn State, but I was like, yeah, you know what? Screw them. Let's go with the Rebels. So I went with the Rebels, and it paid off. And
you're welcome.
What a mess down in Happy Valley, which I guess it's more so Sad Valley now.
They got Ohio State's 3rd best wide receiver from this year to join their team next year. So that'll fix the receiver issues there at Penn State.
Yeah, that's right. And we got to watch Craig Bohl finish his coaching career out with a win. The Grant, do you have any word on the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl?
like I texted you guys, as a fan, I have now officially entered the transfer portal. Please respect my decision. And if I find a new team, I'll let everyone know. And if not, I'll just be a college football fan in general and enjoy the game and enjoy the
What
pageantry
happened
that
to my
is.
$1 NIL offer that I offered?
That is what I will consider.
Okay.
That's part of the the portal process of looking for a new team or maybe not a new team and just being a fan. But no, seriously, when you lose to 3 ranked teams in a year by a combined score of 92-0, it's done. It's done.
The Brian Ferentz era in Iowa ends with scoring 3 points in the final 10 quarters. Yeah. They scored 3 points against Nebraska in the second half, and then they got shut out in the Big Ten championship game and then in the Citrus Bowl. But that was so there is some hopefully there will be some announcement that gives Grant some opportunity. I believe there's still an opportunity for him to come back to be an Iowa fan, but I guess we'll see. So,
but yeah, like the high school recruits say, please respect my decision, and that's all I ask.
All right. Well, then let's go up to the NFL here. We'll get back to we'll put a bow on the show by discussing the national championships because we'll even give a little bit of a talk about the FCS championship game. But let's go up to recap week 17 here, and we'll start surprising, disappointing. Told you so.
Now, Bill, is there a rhyme or reason for the helmets this week, or what are we doing here?
Yes and no.
Stay tuned, folks.
So, with the first pick in the week 17 NFL recap, the first pick is me. The second pick is
I think he's cooking the books, Ethan. He's had a great week.
Ethan. And then Grant pulling up the rear. And Ethan, I chose the Lions for you is because I was sick of my helmets falling down, and I didn't want to grab a Vikings one without knocking down the Falcons, the Bears, Panthers.
Division leaders.
Yeah,
that's exactly kind of how it worked out. Was division leaders. So
division leaders two of the 3 are division champs.
Yes, and hopefully adding a third to that, and because the Cowboys beat the Lions on Saturday, and my surprise team here is the what the ref call is gonna go a team that helped propel the Cowboys into first place in the NFC East is the Arizona Cardinals.
Damn it, you stole mine.
Well, we could, because we have done this before. We did this with Josh Dobbs. If you guys are good with this, we could just make this our consensus surprise team of the week.
No.
No, Ethan's got his own. Okay, I'm sure. All right, fair enough. It wasn't a Viking, so it was stupid. I got you.
I'll figure it out.
But yeah, so rough year down in the desert. But it's a Jonathan Gannon revenge game. And they seemed dead. The birds were flying high, but it was the Cardinals that were flying higher after they got down 21-6. I don't think I am far off to say that Kyler Murray played the best game of his career on Sunday. I thought he looked in rhythm. He was getting the ball out on time. He made a couple of his circus plays that he is so well known for and what's made him successful in this league. And then James Conner looked like he was looking like his rookie year in Pittsburgh. And then Jonathan Gannon, right away when it happened, we thought, oh, what an idiot. Why would he try this onside kick? But then it was, if I kick it deep, the Eagles might drive down the field and kick a game-winning field goal. Our offense, which is clicking on all cylinders, might not get a chance to get the ball back. So he said, you know what? Screw it. I trust my defense enough that we can hold them to 3. and we're going to get the ball back. We're going to go down and score. And that's exactly what they did. And instead of being the donkey of the week, he is the genius of the week in Jonathan Gannon. And the pew, 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 pew guy makes the Eagles fan miss him a little bit, because if you guys remember, he was blamed for the collapse in the Super Bowl and the reason why the Eagles didn't win it last year. But he got the laugh for now, because right now the Eagles are on the outside looking in the NFC East here, and I cannot thank the Cardinals enough.
Dylan, I'm not going with the Vikings, but I'm going with the team that beat them, the Packers, and not just because they won. I thought they were expected to win. It's how they won. That was probably the best quarterback play the Vikings have had versus them in months. Jordan Love, like, flawless, 125 passer rating, 3 touchdowns, 8 yards a pass, 177 rushing yards, and this Vikings defense has been good. And they weren't down a ton of players, but my God, they just didn't matter what they did. They could get whatever they wanted. Some guy named Bo Melton just signed for their practice squad, 105 yards receiving. Like, who in the hell is this guy? They're doing this with average players. Like, none of these outside guys are really that great. The NFC North has a problem, and it's honestly Jordan Love.
And just when we thought that the Packers, the franchise, was dead, all of a sudden Jordan Love comes out. I mean, Matt LaFleur, probably the best play calling game of his career. And Joe Barry's defense looked like they had a pulse again. And, you know, it was one of those games where the Vikings, you know, it was a fun run. Enjoy the Josh Dobbs moments, the Nick Mullins moments, but I think the clock has struck midnight on them, and it's no indictment of anybody else. The fact that they've won 7 games and found themselves with a outside shot at the playoffs just speaks to the coaching job that Kevin O'Connell and that staff has done. And I think, you know, if Vikings, hopefully they're able to re-sign Kirk and get back to where, you know, seeing a 3-horse race for the division, the NFC North next year.
It's actually pretty wild. The Vikings can go from anywhere between the 9th overall pick into the playoffs. Like, it's just that's
crazy.
So, you know, guys, get the 9th pick. Okay, I'm sorry. Go beat Detroit is what I mean.
No. Say it with your chest. Lose this game. Get the draft capital, because let's call a spade a spade. This Vikings team is getting their ass kicked in Dallas in the playoffs if they make it. Don't even save the embarrassment and just get a top 10 pick. But Ethan, to your point, Jordan Love this season he's having would be the best quarterback year the Chicago Bears had in franchise history. It's incredible. Like, I don't get it. There's some sort of deal the city of Green Bay made with the NFL to where this middle of nowhere place that makes cheese curds and beer is going to be the quarterback factory. I don't get it, but here we are. And so it's my turn now. And actually, you guys stole both teams I wrote down in my notes for surprise.
I'll give you one
team.
if you need one.
No. So I'm gonna go.
Yeah, we have 2 or 3. Ethan, because I also had the Packers. Grant had the Cardinals.
I'm going to go back to Arizona, but for reasons Dylan did not mention. So it's been a rough year for the Cardinals. They deserve their credit, so we're going to give it to them. And if you think about it, guys, just the logistics of this game, going across the country, losing 3 time zones, and having a 1 p.m. kickoff in Philadelphia, that's a recipe for them to lose by 14 points. Especially after the night before when Dallas got the win. The Eagles needed this to get a home playoff game and maybe 2 home playoff games. But Arizona, you know, they were maybe a little sluggish, like you said, Dylan. They were down 21-6, but you know, this offensive line for the Cardinals, they were fantastic on Sunday. 40 rushing attempts, guys, for 221 yards, 5.5 yards per carry. That didn't happen last year when Jonathan Gannon was coaching this Eagles defense. The 3 first-round picks from Georgia, where were they on Sunday stopping the run?
Where was Hassan Reddick?
Where's Hassan Reddick? I know he had a sack in the game.
Was that Paris Johnson, the tackle out of Ohio State they drafted?
Paris Johnson, that is correct.
phenomenal job. Incredible.
Yes. They signed Zach Cunningham this offseason. He's nowhere to be seen. Shaq Leonard, we're going to bring him off the street. Yeah, an off-ball linebacker is going to change our defense. People in the media are so stupid. We knew he wasn't going to do anything in Philadelphia. But Arizona came in there with bad intentions. And Dylan, to your point, Kyler, 25 of 31 for 232 yards, 7.5 yards an attempt. And just one turnover on the road. That is efficient. And they only gave up one sack, Arizona's offensive line. So, and I know it's a rough year. They're 4-12, but you know what? They've played hard in a lot of these games. And if they can get some of these draft picks right and bring in the good quality players, who knows? This Arizona team might not be horrible. The NFC West is a tough division. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team here anytime soon, but Jonathan Gannon clearly has these guys playing hard week in and week out. And maybe they're building something good in the desert. And let's give Arizona's defense credit. At home, they only gave up 24 points to the Eagles' offense thanks to the Sidney Brown pick six. And Jalen only threw for 167 yards in the air. You don't let A.J. Brown beat you and you let old man Julio Jones score your 2 touchdowns, I'm okay with that. So, well-deserved, Arizona. You deserve getting credit times 2 this week.
I'm not going to dispute it, yeah. And not to mention how much of a disaster what we've read in the media of how bad the culture in Arizona is between the ownership and front office for Jonathan Gannon to come in. There wasn't a whole lot of expectations because I think a lot of people, and this podcast included, wrote Kyler Murray off. And because of his attitude, his, just poor body language, and you're not seeing it as much as you have. So maybe Jonathan Gannon's got something clicking in there that maybe if Kyler's able to turn it around, there's lots of reasons for positivity in Arizona. And just a week late or a week after, Grant, you and I were talking about how they were an irrelevant franchise. So you know
Correct.
what? I guess Arizona, if we're the fuel that helps get you guys makes you guys better, you're welcome. We better be getting a Super Bowl ring if they ever win a Super Bowl.
We got Houston to 9-7.
We did. Exactly.
So we should just start talking about these lowly franchises and building them up, and we get our credit when credit is due.
I think we've done a good job of solving their problems and pointing out what their issues are and what they need to do.
And also, shout out to Ethan back till April, saying in his mock draft, Arizona needs to protect Kyler. So,
yeah,
shout out to Mr. Price there. And then with their second pick, and one of their first picks in the second round, they took
Mike Mayock.
You're better than Mike Mayock because you have a job and he doesn't. But they took an edge rusher from LSU. Jonathan Gannon's building this thing from the inside out. Now, don't get me wrong. If Marvin Harrison is there at 4, take him. But if not, there's plenty of tackles and edge rushers available for Arizona in this upcoming draft.
Yeah, for sure. And let's go, Grant. Let's stick with you. Who do you have for your disappointing team of the week?
I'm not so much a disappointing team. I'm going right for a player. He was talking a lot of smack last week with season on the line, and Jamar Chase. There's a witness protection program out for you in Kansas City because you didn't show up after the middle of the second quarter in that game.
Are you saying Chase wasn't on the case?
Chase was not on the case. He was definitely not on the case. And Jamar talked a lot of shit before this game, and he didn't back it up. The week he comes back from having a separated shoulder against the Vikings. Chiefs defense, there's no superstars. It's nothing special. L'Jarius Sneed, he's their best, but he's only their best because he has to double team people all the time. And Jamar, that's just not true because every game this year, L'Jarius has been on the other team's one. It's been one-on-one, and he's shut a lot of dudes down. But like I said, just with the season on the line and the smack talk that he's had these last couple of years against the Chiefs, he hasn't backed it up. And I know this goes back to last year, before last year's regular season game. Justin Reed called T. Higgins Higbee because they played the Rams the week before. They were jawing there. Before the AFC title game last year, Willie Gay is saying there's nothing special about the Bengals offense. Jamar called the Chiefs toxic in the offseason. And again, some friendly banter in the NFL, rivalries, we need it. And again, 3 catches for only 41 yards, nothing in the second half. Your season is on the line against a team that you had some success against before. Well, he hasn't scored a touchdown in the last 3 games he's played against the Chiefs, and that continued on Sunday. Now he couldn't back it up. Legere shut him down for the most part, and now he's eliminated and his season is over. And we can truly say that Justin Jefferson is the best receiver from LSU in the NFL now.
Mm-hmm.
Grant, you enjoyed that a little bit, didn't you?
Oh, it was so much fun. And just to eliminate the Bengals 2 years in a row. T. Higgins had 1 catch. I know he hurt his hamstring, but hey, everyone's hurt this time of the year. For some reason, they went away from Joe Mixon. On a 4th down play, the Bengals decided to not block Willie Gay right up the middle when they should have kicked a field goal. Like Dylan said, this isn't the 2019 Kansas City Chiefs anymore. Coach Taylor, get the field goal, get to 20 points. But no, yeah,
in a sense, that flipped the game. The Chiefs at that point were reeling a little bit. And you could tell that they sold out on that play too. That play did not even stand a chance at all. And that brought Arrowhead back to life. That brought the crowd back into it. And then it wasn't long after that you saw Mahomes hit Rashee Rice that got him into field goal range.
And then it was over.
Yep. But
yes.
Ethan, who do you have for your disappointing team this week?
I'm going with a team that had very real chance of winning their division, and they shit the bed up in Chicago. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons. Probably their worst loss of the year. Granted, yes, they have been playing better than the Bears, but they were just terrible. They don't have a quarterback. Heineke's trash. 10 of 29. Like, are you freaking serious? I get it was snowing. I get it's cold. That's awful. 1 TD, 3 picks. The only nice play they had was Algier, whatever his name is, 75-yard screen touchdown. Other than that, I want to say they had less than that would have put them at almost 200 yards. That was almost a quarter of their yards right there. So, not ideal. How many turnovers did they have? I think they had 4 turnovers. Yeah, 4 turnovers. They didn't force a turnover versus the Bears. And in the game you needed to win, that was about as bad as performance as you could really hope for.
Yeah, and I mean the Arthur Smith clock might have struck midnight. I think they might be looking for a new coach. I think you have to at this point, just because he was so religiously said Desmond. They had a chance to go get Lamar Jackson, and they we got Desmond Ridder. He's the guy, and I don't know how that Jackson guy's doing, but is he having a decent year?
He's going to win the MVP.
He's my MVP.
Oh yeah,
just throwing that out there.
So yeah, he's doing just fine. Dylan, his team is 13-3 actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, his team is 13-3.
Well, I did just see Odell may have rented out a yacht again, so I'm a little bit
Lamar,
I'm a little bit nervous. Yeah,
do everything in your power to stay away from that yacht. Stay away from the yacht and the crab cakes. For these next 4 weeks, just stay away. Go home, hang out with your mom in South Florida, and just do not go anywhere near that yacht.
Yeah. Well, and my disappointing team is a team that I thought had a good shot to win their division this year, but now seems very unlikely that they will even make the playoffs, and that's going to be and I don't want to have to do this because I've liked this team.
Minnesota Vikings.
I've started to like this team a little bit more these last 2 years, but I'm gonna have to bring the name out because that's kind of what they looked like. They looked like the Rainy City Bitch Pigeons.
Oh,
yeah, against the Steelers team that they played great last week, but there is no reason a backup quarterback should be able to walk into Lumen Field and act like he owns the place. They came out flat. The defense looked like Swiss cheese, and they had a chance to really put the clamps down, give themselves an opportunity to put themselves in the playoffs. And the defense, which has been a problem all year, didn't show up. Ran the ball, gave up 200 yards on the ground.
Are you saying
And
they could have used Jalen Carter?
They could have used Jalen Carter.
Do I get to use that line again?
You do.
Seattle.
Where is all this? This petty Grant is coming out today. I did not know this existed. This is a little bit of it is fun, isn't it?
This is fun. Maybe it's this new Heights sweatshirt I got on. Maybe I'm feeling a little cocky, a little arrogant like Travis. Who knows? Maybe it's a new year and it's truly a new me.
New year, new Grant. That could be.
That's not how it goes.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. And I'm kind of pissed I didn't forgot to mention it, but I haven't seen you guys since last year, so it's great to see you guys.
This wily son of a bitch here.
That was like one of the few things that got me through the work week last week because Christmas to New Year's, pointless time to work. Nobody wants to be there. Nothing really ever gets accomplished. The only thing that got me through last week was telling customers I was going to see them next year. And this week, really the only thing getting me through the week is telling customers, wow, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you since last year.
It's the oldest joke in the book, but it's just awesome.
It is. And if you don't like it, get out, leave. See you later. See you never. So let's go to Told You So team of the week here. And it is a team that I despise. I don't have many nice things to say about them. And it's the Philadelphia Eagles. This Nick Sirianni, fake tough guy, I'm going to nod in the camera. I know what I'm doing. I'm just as bad MFer. Look at me. I'm going to yell at everybody. And
I'm going to talk smack.
It's starting to wear off.
I'm going to talk smack to fans, to the team I lost to in the Super Bowl last year. I don't want to hear it from you anymore. You didn't beat me in February. I can talk all I want to talk.
Yeah.
And it's starting to wear off. Eagles fans are kind of getting sick of the shtick that he has. There's rumors saying that there's some possibilities that he could be let go if there's some things do not change. The offense refuses to give DeAndre Swift the ball, and rather than when they were 10-1, they started feeling themselves about the Jalen Hurts hype of winning the MVP. He was the favorite, and they got away from what's made that offense click, and that's giving Agent Zero the football. A.J. Brown hates his quarterback, refuses to talk to the media. Devontae Smith is hurt, says that we need to keep playing better. The secondary is a disaster, and they need a win and some luck to not be going to Tampa or
New Orleans
or Atlanta, no matter what.
Yeah.
But that the Eagles are my Told You So team of the week.
I'm going with the same team I picked 2 weeks ago. I don't feel bad about it. The New Orleans Saints. They went in, beat Tampa on the road. It comes down to the last week.
Destroyed them.
Yeah, They beat the shit out of them. It comes down to the last week, and just like we predicted, one of the worst divisions in football, if not the worst division in football. It's been terrible. It's been ugly. But if the Saints can knock off, I want to see, who the heck do they play again?
They play the Falcons.
They play the Falcons.
Yeah.
And Bucks play at Carolina, but I don't know if Baker's going to play. He hasn't practiced all week yet. His ribs, I guess, are very much questionable. So if they don't play, I like the Panthers. I think they win. I think the Saints win the division, and they live to fight another day in the playoffs. Host in
Philadelphia?
Dallas or Philly? Yeah, Philly. Yeah.
Yeah, unless Dallas lays a
huge
egg.
Washington, which is totally possible. It is on the road.
It's possible. I'm not ruling it out.
Yeah.
After all the after all the talk on our social medias of the video I posted of me changing the rankings for the NFC East.
Yes.
And everybody's saying how the Cowboys won because of a bad call, this, that, and the other, and how it's rigged that the NFL so the Cowboys can get 2 home playoff games. I was like, dude, it's the Cowboys. This is the perfect spot for them to absolutely go just shit the bed shit the bed against Washington, a team that has zero reason to win, and basically
In Ron Rivera's last game.
And to lock up the number 2 pick in the draft.
Yes.
You know, this is a classic opportunity for the Cowboys to just lay an egg.
You know, Dylan, I just thought of this here. You know, people are talking about how the refs gave that game away to the Cowboys Saturday night. No, I think there's just something in the AT&T Stadium. Friday night, Ohio State lays an egg. Saturday night, Taylor Decker fails to report as an eligible receiver. People in Ohio State just don't like AT&T Stadium.
They haven't, since they lost, they won the national title.
They won the national title there.
2014.
Yeah.
They may have won the battle, but they're right now losing the war.
They're losing the war to AT&T Stadium.
But who do you have for your told you so team of the week, Grant?
This is a head coach Ethan and I talked about maybe about a month ago before a Vikings game, saying about how his offense is creative and cool and it's going to make waves, but eventually his shtick is going to catch up to him and it's not going to work out. That's the Miami Dolphins. Laid an absolute egg on Sunday with the possible number 1 seed. I understand they are banged up. They were out without Mostert and they were without Waddle, but they did not look ready to play that game from the start. Their offense went down the field, gets 7 points, but their all-world defense, if you listen to them on Hard Knocks with Vic Fangio, could not stop a nosebleed on Sunday. Tyreek, his head was not in the game because he dropped a wide-open touchdown, and you can't trust this offense.
Oh, his head's somewhere.
His head, yeah. And then their defense, again, I will say this is not a good unit. They've played bad teams. You play the Jets 2 times in a 4-week stretch, your defense is going to be number 1 in a lot of categories because the Jets are putrid. And once again, this offense struggled against a defensive team. Again, I think they've played 5 playoff teams this year. They've scored over 20 points 1 time. In those 5 games, they're 1-4 against playoff teams. Bradley Chubb gets hurt. Again, their center might not play on Sunday. Even then, their offensive line still gave up 3 sacks.
Bradley Chubb's done for the year, yeah.
Bradley Chubb's done for the year, yeah, with that ACL. I saw that replay right away, and I was like, whew, that poor dude's done. Their offensive line lets Tua get sacked 3 times. And that Lamar Jackson guy, he's pretty good. He was able to throw for 321 yards. And the Ravens rushed for 160 yards on the ground as a team. I said before the year I thought the Dolphins would be the team to miss the playoffs. And I don't like where they're going right now, and I don't trust McDaniel as a motivator when times are tough to get men motivated. And I don't think he's a leader. I think he's a cool, innovative guy who can interview well, and he's young and hip, but I don't see the Dolphins going that far.
Yeah, that and as much as banged up as they are, and they need to draft an offensive lineman to shore up that offensive line, and I think they need to get younger because Mostert, as good as he has been at times, he's old. He's constantly hurt. Mm-hmm. So and same with Achane. Achane's been banged up for most of the year as well, and they need to shore up that run game because when they are at their best is when they are running the ball and using play action to open up Tyreek, Waddle, Braxton Berrios, Cedric Wilson.
But Xavier Howard, he's getting up. He's almost 30. Jalen Ramsey's almost 30. I don't know if Christian Wilkins has gotten paid or he's going to need to get paid. I mean, this team, they're teetering on. It could go the wrong way here soon.
Yep. And that wraps up our Week 17 recap in the NFL. Let's stay in the NFL. We've got Week 18, and we'll be go over all the playoff scenarios here. So, Atlanta, this is what they need to do to get in. They need to win and a Tampa Bay loss. Simple. Cowboys, they're already in. they clinch the division with a win or a tie and Philly tie or a Philly loss. The Packers win it in, but if they tie, Seattle has to lose or tie, and New Orleans, the Saints have to lose or tie, or they can tie, but Seattle loses, Tampa Bay loses, or another Green Bay tie, Seattle tie, Tampa Bay loss, or Minnesota loss or tie with a Seattle loss and Tampa Bay loss, or Vikings lose, loser tie, Seattle loss, New Orleans loss. Vikings can clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Green Bay loss and a Seattle loss and a Tampa Bay loss, or they win with a Green Bay loss and a Seattle loss and a Saints loss. Saints can clinch with a win and a Tampa Bay loss or tie, or with a Saints tie and a Tampa Bay loss. That's how they clinch the South. They can clinch a playoff berth though with a win and a Seattle loss or tie and a Green Bay loss or tie, or a Saints tie, the Saints tie with a Seattle loss or a Green Bay loss. Philly, pretty straightforward, win, Dallas loss or tie, or both Eagles and Cowboys tie. Seattle can win with a Green Bay loss or tie, or a tie with Seattle ties with a Green Bay loss or Tampa Bay loss, or tie, or Seattle can tie with a Green Bay loss and Saints loss or tie. The Bucks, they win, and they are wearing hat and t-shirts, and or if they can tie and the Saints lose or tie, they'll still be wearing the t-shirts. They can clinch a playoff berth though with a tie, Seattle loss, and a Green Bay loss or tie. And then in the AFC, Buffalo, which is crazy that they are in the playoffs and they have the most at stake, I would say. They could win, they win the AFC East. But if they lose, they can clinch a playoff berth with a Buffalo tie, or a Pittsburgh loss or tie, or a Jacksonville loss or tie, or a Houston and Indy tie. Which I think if the AFC South, if there's a tie in their last 2 games, I wouldn't be shocked. The Texans can clinch the AFC South with a Houston with a win and a Jacksonville loss or tie, or they can clinch a playoff berth with a win and in, or they tie with a Jacksonville loss and a Pittsburgh loss or tie. The Colts can win. They need some help here. They need to win with a Jacksonville loss or tie, or a tie and a Jacksonville loss. They can clinch a playoff berth with a win, or a Indy tie and a Pittsburgh loss. Jacksonville, they clinch the South, the AFC South with a win, or a tie and a Indianapolis and Houston tie. Just for chaos reasons, I'm kind of rooting for that because I think that would be kind of funny. Or they can clinch a playoff berth with a Jacksonville tie or Pittsburgh loss or tie, or Pittsburgh loss plus a Denver loss or tie plus Houston Indy doesn't end in a tie. And the Dolphins, they're already in the playoffs, but they can win the division with a win or a tie. And the Steelers, the last one here, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Buffalo loss, or a Jacksonville loss or tie, or a Houston and Indy tie, or a Jacksonville loss, Houston and Indy doesn't end in a tie, or a Jacksonville loss plus a Denver win plus a Houston and Indy doesn't end in tie. Did you guys get all that?
Oh, yep. My God.
Grant's brain is hurting.
Oh, my God. My brain is so fried right now.
You figured all that out. So you definitely read an article, but God forbid that whoever figured that out.
Ian Rappaport tweeted it out, and I saved it in my phone too.
Jesus.
I did.
That came right from the NFL.
I did not memorize that.
The NFL
I'd be very give them a pat on the back if they were able to memorize all that. But
the NFL sent Rappaport a memo.
Yeah. But I'm going to start my game of the week here. It's going to be the Sunday night game, Bills versus Dolphins. And it is a battle of for AFC. The Bills are going for their 4th straight AFC East title. The Dolphins are in a tough spot, losing Bradley Chubb. I don't know who they're going to have even able to play. And I don't
Alex
know
Van
if Mostert's going
Ginkel.
to be. Yeah, Alex Van Ginkel. But this game, I'm not sure what to think of Buffalo, because outside of when they destroyed Dallas, they've come back to earth a little bit, and they struggled against the Chargers. They didn't play great against the Patriots last week. It's kind of resorted back to, where they've had the turnovers, they're inconsistent play calling, inconsistent on offense. It's a game of I'm not sure I can trust either team in the spot, and I think it's going to come down to the running game, and who wins the turnover battle, because both quarterbacks are prone to throwing the ball to the other team or fumbling the ball to the other team. But in the end, I trust Sean McDermott. I trust Josh Allen more than I trust Mike McDaniel and Tua. And I actually think the Bills win by 2 scores. I like the Bills winning 23-14.
I'm actually going to go to a game that has massive divisional implications as well. Colts and Texans. I won't go super into D2 who I think wins, because that would kind of spoil or at least lead you on to.
Ethan, I don't mean to interrupt you on this one, but this will be CJ Stroud's first time he's ever played in Indianapolis. Let's give it up for him.
Whoa,
He finally made it to Indy.
Wow, that's cold. But yeah, no, super good game. Obviously, Jacksonville plays Tennessee. That's us. I knew it was a blue team. Gonna be a tough game for sure down there. So whoever wins this could very easily win the division.
And 2 coaches who could be Coach of the Year candidates.
Dylan, who wins the division if they all tie? Would it be Jacksonville?
I think it'd be Jacksonville.
It's Jacksonville
right now. That makes
sense.
sense.
Because Jacksonville's the 4 right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So you said if both teams tie, or if both games are ties,
all 3 tie.
That's in the scenario, boys. We got to trust the scenario prediction format here. It does say Jacksonville wins the South with a tie and a Houston Indy tie. It's such a sentence, isn't it?
That's just nuts.
What a sentence. But I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go a little off the radar. Not so much off the radar, but one team who's in the playoff hunt and one team who's eliminated. Packers Bears.
That was my last game, actually.
Yeah, and for me, that's the game of the week, because we all know the Packers win and they're in. Jordan Love looks like the guy, but this is a huge game for the Bears organization. Like, if the Bears and Justin Fields can go into Lambeau and put a good game together and somehow win and eliminate the Packers, boy, what does Chicago do with him? What do they do with that first pick?
You gotta go. You can't. You gotta stick with Fields at this point.
At that point, do you stick with? He's shown promise. Do you stick with Fields? Do you maybe trade that pick for a king's ransom and then take Marvin Harrison, and get him in DJ Moore?
Let's go with Sweat.
Or do you just get Dallas? Do you get Dallas Turner, and an offensive tackle with your first couple picks? I mean, this has huge implications for the Bears on there, especially if they do what the Lions did last year, where you go into Lambeau and you eliminate the Packers from the playoffs. And then if the Packers can win and get in, well, Matt LaFleur's job is saved, and Jordan Love is looking back like, hey, look at me, I'm the guy. You didn't waste a first-round pick on me. So huge implications for both of these organizations, not only for this year, but 2 to 3 years down the road. And Romo and Nance are on the call, and since we live in Minnesota, I'm thinking that's the 3:30 game, and I'm excited to watch that thing Sunday.
It will be good, because last year Packers had a chance to make the playoffs with a win and in, but the Lions played spoiler. Is this something that the Bears can do? And the Bears have somewhat had a little bit of a.
And
Lions did last year.
Eberflus could be coaching for his job, as well. So a lot of stake in Lambeau on Sunday.
Yeah. So, boys, now what? When the dust all settles at about 11 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Mountain Time on Sunday night. What do the playoff standings in the NFC and AFC look like for you guys? We can start from the well, you can go either way, from bottom to top or top to bottom.
Let's go top
Whatever
to bottom.
you choose.
Top to bottom,
Okay.
I think, because most of these, there's a lot, like 3 of the top 5 in the AFC, for instance, are literally locked in.
They're locked in, yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you guys got?
Well, of course, Baltimore's the 1.
I thought
Yep.
that was a good guess. Yeah.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah.
But I'll
so
go here
2
with
to 7.
Okay. I guess I'll start.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
I have Buffalo at 2.
Yep. All right.
Am I going right down?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so Buffalo 2, Kansas City's locked in at the 3. Jacksonville at 4. I think they knew last week, even if they lost, they still had a shot. I think they gave Lawrence the week off. Ethan's point, that game is in Tennessee, but I think the Jags pull it out. Cleveland, they're locked in at the 5. Miami then, since they lose to Buffalo, is the 6. And you know what? God damn it, we talked about this team all year. The Houston Texans are the 7 seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So mine's actually pretty similar to Grant's. I'm going 2 Bills. I think they beat the Dolphins. Obviously, the Chiefs 3. This is where it gets a little weird. I actually have a tie in the Colts-Houston game, but Jacksonville loses. So the Colts win the division. Colts win the division.
I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
At 5, Miami 6, Houston gets in as the 7.
Okay.
That's delicious. I hope that happens. I hope I'm wrong.
As soon as you brought up the ties, I'm like, I had Jacksonville. I'm like, let's get weird.
I love it.
Weird. Let's go with Houston.
So, well, yep, I'm with you guys. It's a clean sweep, as I said. I think the Bills win by 2 scores. Bills 2, Chiefs are 3. I'm going with the Jaguars. I've been high on them all year. This is my hope of that the Jaguars are going to turn it on in the playoffs. I'm not feeling great about it. 5 is the hat that Ethan is wearing, the Cleveland Browns, Elite Joe Flacco. And the 6 is the Dolphins. And 7 is, I think CJ is going to show out. I think in these type of games, I think you go with who the better quarterback is. I like CJ Stroud more than I like Gardner Minshew. So I'm going to go with the Texans sneaking in the 7th seed.
And hey,
And
when CJ's back was against the wall against Utah and Georgia, he played the games of his life. And I'm with you, Dylan. I think that continues.
Correct. And let's go to the NFC here. And the 49ers are already locked in. 2 seed, I like the Cowboys. As much as I am nervous about this game, I'm going to go with, I still think the Cowboys find a way to win and beat the Commanders. They get the 2 seed. Lions are the 3 seed. I like Tampa to beat the lowly Panthers, even if Baker Mayfield is not playing. The best throw that we've seen all year is from David Tepper. Bucks get into the 4 seed. Eagles, 5 seed. The Rams are locked into the 6 seed. And in the 7, I said this team is going to sneak into the play, is a playoff team all year. I think the chips fall their way, and I like the Seahawks to sneak in as a 7 seed.
2 years in a row, they sneak in as the 7 seed.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I'm saying Dallas wins too. It's probably not going to be a pretty win out in Washington, but I think they get it done. Detroit gets the 3. I'm going with my preseason pick. I'm going with the Saints. I think they get it done. I think Tampa Bay loses. Obviously, Philly 5, Rams 6. And then I'm going with another team I picked preseason, the Packers. I'm pretty proud of that pick. I think I nailed that one. So hopefully it actually comes to fruition.
There you go. Yep. We'll make it a clean sweep. I like Dallas. To
So
get
it'll
the
be
2.
the Eagles.
Yep. The Lions at 3, like we said, that one's locked in. Again, I'm going to go with Tampa just because I think Todd Bowles is going to throw the kitchen sink at Bryce Young. I mean, he's going to see blitzes coming that he's never seen before.
Yeah.
This Tampa Bay defense will be the difference in that game. Eagles are locked in at the 5. Rams are locked in at the 6. And in my game of the week, I think Jordan Love wins, and the Packers get in as the 7 seed, and we set up a Dallas Packers playoff game. And I know Dylan is not ready for that.
Yeah.
You know what? I love it.
It's gonna
Embrace
win
it.
that game.
Embrace the challenge. You got to exercise the demons. Here, you got to.
History repeats
gotta
itself.
go.
Just remember that.
It can, but sometimes history is meant to die and be forgotten.
Instead, though.
Mhm.
So
Jordan Love is good, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, and let's go back to college here. Before the FCS, it's Montana versus South Dakota State on Sunday, and Montana beat NDSU. South Dakota State is one in the running for one of the best FCS teams of all time. This team, and
How'd that taste coming out of your mouth?
It hurt a little bit, but NDSU still has like 3 of the 4, so it's whatever.
There you go.
And the and I don't like saying teams have to play perfect to win, but it feels like Montana almost has to play perfect, play a perfect game to win. They're going to have to get another special teams touchdown. They're going to have to force Mark Gronowski into some interceptions. Offensively, they've got to show more than what they've shown the last 2 weeks. Even against NDSU, they scored in regulation. They only had the 1 offensive touchdown. And it's this, I don't know, maybe the 3 weeks is going to help them, give them some type of edge with Bobby Hauck, who is an experienced head coach, and Jimmy Rogers. This is his first year. Is he going to be forced to make some tough decisions, get him where he does something where he gets nervous and makes a coaching mistake? But in the end, I don't think this is going to be much of a game. I think this is about a quarter and a half a game where it is close. And I think the Jackrabbits get their second straight. They're going to win 42-17 over Montana.
I'll take the Jacks 33-14. Go big, go blue, go Jacks. You're welcome, Craig.
Ugh.
Most of the time, 100% of the time in nature, a grizzly bear will destroy a jackrabbit. Good thing this is not nature. So South Dakota State 34, Montana 13.
They're just going to outrun them like normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. They're going to zig and zag.
They will. So, well then, boys, let's get to the college football playoff national championship. Michigan versus Washington, 5:30 Mountain, 6:30 Central. Michigan 4.5-point favorites here. This is where I said at the beginning of the year, this is where I said Michigan was going to be playing for the national title. I had them beating Georgia, but it's not Georgia. It's Washington, a tremendous team.
Hey,
Best quarterback.
They're still facing a dog school with a mascot.
They're still facing a dog school. Correct. Probably the 2 most consistent teams all season. So it is fitting that they play for a national title. On paper, I think Michigan is the better team. But I would also say Washington will have the best player on the field in Michael Penix Jr. Matchup wise, though, I like how this matches up for Michigan. Washington struggled to stop the run all season, and they gave up 7 yards a carry to Texas. If I think Michigan is able to run the ball, control the clock, keep Michael Penix off the field, because he's not going to hurt you if he's sitting there watching the ball on the sideline. And I think Washington played really well, played as good as they've been, kind of what they've been all season. And Michigan left a lot to be desired. They played abysmal on special teams. The offense disappeared at times. Even defensively, there were a couple of missed tackles here. But if we really want to get nitpicky with the defense, and maybe Michigan feels like maybe they're saving their best game for last. Defensively, it's strength versus strength. Is They're going up against the Joe Moore Award, and Michigan's got they're 4 deep on the defensive end, 4 deep at the tackles. They've got good linebackers, good corners. The Roma Dunze Will Johnson matchup is going to be very interesting to see how Michigan does. I don't know if they're going to try and bracket him or play zone. I think when you've seen Washington struggle in the middle of the season, it was a lot where Michigan or teams were rushing only 3 guys, and they were dropping 8, and Michael Penix struggled to find somebody. And that was when they went back more to Dylan Johnson running the ball, and that kind of brought everybody, those safeties, back down a little bit and let the Washington go and stretch the field. But Dylan Johnson is questionable right now. We're going to see if he can go. They are saying that they expect him to play. The X-rays were negative, but we're not. We'll find out and see how that goes. But ball control, I think, is going to be key for Michigan. Don't turn the ball over. Don't give Washington any short fields. And, if they're able to stick with the run, use that run to open up the pass, play that complementary football, allow J.J. McCarthy to throw the ball downfield, let those receivers get open, catch the Washington safeties and corners, their eyes in the backfield, letting a receiver go free. And, defensively for Michigan, it's been what I've said for most of the year is Washington's going to move the field. They're a tremendous team. They're going to make plays. They practice too. But let them move the ball 20-20, but in the red zone, make them settle for field goals, win on first and second down, especially down there where they have to get the ball in obvious passing situations, and let Michigan tee off and go after the quarterback where they have to force them into a bad throw, maybe get an interception or incomplete pass, which isn't a bad thing in this game. So I'll let you guys go through what some of your keys to the game are, and then after that, we'll bring it back and do our predictions.
Dylan, you mentioned my first big one, like, can Washington stop the run? Can they get the ball back? The other side of that, though, is I don't think time of possession is going to be as big in this game. I think Michigan needs to limit the explosive plays. Washington had 10-plus explosive plays versus Texas the other night. That's minimum 200 yards just right there. That's honestly probably what's going to decide the game right there. Can they limit them? Michigan only had 6 versus Alabama. Can they get more? Can J.J. McCarthy make those big plays like Michael Penix was doing versus Texas? And I feel like a lot of Michigan's was scheming-wise, where Washington is after the catch. Can these receivers get the ball down the field for Michigan? Can they actually make some guys miss to get those big chunk plays? Corum's going to bust a couple off. Berkeley Edwards has a chance to break a couple too. But those guys on the outside for Michigan need to find ways to get these bigger plays to not make it such longer possessions. Because I don't think the possession's going to matter. I think it's who makes the biggest plays here. And then the second one, Michigan needs to generate a pass rush without blitzing. Penix will kill them if they blitz every single time like they did that left guard on Alabama. I don't see that working versus Washington. Penix is just too elusive, and he just controls the pocket so well that I think it's going to be hard for them to blitz him consistently like they did Alabama.
Yeah, and to your point with Ethan about the time of possession, you're absolutely correct. And with that, if Michigan's going to want to take the air out of the ball and go on those 7-8 minute drives, they have to come away with touchdowns. They can't settle for field goals because that puts the pressure back on Washington to try to match them.
And yeah, Ethan, I think to your point, your last point you brought up, where if Michigan's going to bring the pressure, they got to do it without blitzing. I think Michigan will bring 5 to 6 guys at times, but I think this is where Jesse Mitchell's time in the NFL comes in to be a factor, because it's going to be a lot like what Spags is doing. Washington might be on their their right hash. Michigan's going to blitz from the left. They're going to bring guys from multiple different spots where they're going to confuse Penix. These are looks he's not going to be. He hasn't seen all year with that. And then also, do these Washington receivers know where their hot is? Where Oduze can say, hey, I'm on the slide here. My corner's coming. Does Penix have trust in me that I can sit down in this zone, or do I keep running to get my head taken off? So I think I like Michigan's advantage there in the aspect where they have NFL defensive coaches where they've seen these route combinations before. Jesse Minter's played the Kansas City Chiefs. He's played the New England Patriots. He's played Sean McVay in the Rams. He's seen stuff like this, so he should be able to scheme up some looks where he can get home, but then also disguise the coverage and back where it's something maybe Michael Penix hasn't seen before. And then Dylan, kind of like what I talked about earlier tonight, I think Michigan needs to continue with the 11 personnel. One back, a tight end, and 2 to 3 wide receivers to kind of continue to loosen up that Washington defense, just like what Texas did, where you can still run the ball with Edwards and Corum, but you're doing it against a light box, where Washington only has 5 guys in there. They only have 6 guys in there. There's 3 defensive linemen, where if we're running to the left, I don't need to block this backside defensive end. I can get 2 double teams, and you know what? If he crashes hard on Corum and Blake, JJ's got legs. I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to get 5 yards, and I'm going to slide. And another thing that I thought Michigan did real well last game was using Corum in the passing game, because with all his rushing touchdowns he's had, I'm not going to worry about him coming out of the backfield catching balls. And I understand that's my biggest gripe each week. I'm like, how are we not covering eligible receivers as a running back? So I think Michigan has to continue to get him the ball in open spaces and using concepts where, they just have 2 receivers running a drag route to the left, and we sneak Corum out to the right, where he's open right there. But again, Washington, one of their advantages is this. That offensive line, like you said, Dylan, it's a lot like last year's Super Bowl. Michigan is just like Philadelphia. They have a better team. They have an awesome pass rush. But Washington has the better quarterback, and if this offensive line can keep him upright, and this Michigan secondary has to cover for 3 to 4 or 5 seconds, it's going to be a long day. For Michigan in that aspect. And also, I think big thing for Washington is tackling in space and tackling, because Corum, like Ethan said, Corum's going to break a couple. He's going to have one-on-one matchups with linebackers 3 to 4 to 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. They need to make those tackles right away. And if they don't, they can't bring them down, and these big uglies are able to come behind Blake and give him a big push, they're going to lean and lean and lean, and then those long drives are going to turn into touchdowns. So Washington has to tackle well, and they have to play well in the box with that. I'm excited for this game, and I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And it's probably the 2 best head coaches, or 2 of the 3 best coaches in the country, and they're going to make adjustments, and they're going to be ready to play. And these coaches aren't going to be nervous, and I don't think either one is going to make a boneheaded decision.
I certainly hope not. And if there is a coach that makes the boneheaded decision, I hope it's the Washington head coach here. But boys, what do we got for predictions here? Who wins on Monday night?
Well, I went last time, so I'll continue the snake order.
True.
I have Michigan 31, Washington 26.
I have. I'm going with Mr. Augustana himself. I'm going with Washington 31 to 18.
Wow. All right, 2 possessions.
Away.
Okay. Well, for me, I've said from the beginning, I think this is the team that wins the national title for Michigan. They've been the best team all season, no matter what has happened, whether the NCAA trying to suspend Harbaugh for a cheeseburger, or coward little man Tony Petitti stepping in because Ohio State said, "Oh, they're taking signals. Yeah, I'm crying Ryan Day," and tried to tear this team apart. And it's only brought them closer together. And they love playing together. They will love being with each other, and they're going to play for each other. And their backs have been put against the wall throughout this season, whether it be what I've said, the suspensions, the accusations, the they've had their backs against the wall, and all they have done is just silence the critics. They've kept punching back. They've had most of their wins have been dominating, and outside of 2 games that have been were 1 possession games, I think Michigan has the advantage up front. They have the advantage in the run game. I think they're going to be able to control the game on the ground and get enough stops on defense to get their first national title since 1997. I like Michigan 35-27.
All right.
And
Dylan, I got one more thing real quick. I hope Michigan wears the same uniforms they wore against Alabama. I didn't realize how awesome that helmet, the blue uniforms and the maize pants were. Maybe it was the Rose Bowl field and it just looked awesome. It looks better on grass than the artificial turf they play on in Michigan Stadium. But that uniform combination is absolutely elite.
it did. And
I hope they don't
white
go
socks.
Yes, I hope they don't go the blue on blue.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they will do here, but my guess is they probably won't have the shoulder patches that they wore. But yeah, I'm not a superstitious person, but go with what got you there. So let's go to curveball of the week that I have. And now I just thought of this afternoon. Now, who on a movie or TV show, who is an insufferable person that you would think there's absolutely no way I would ever think of going on a date with? What movie character or TV show that just is just a terrible, insufferable person that you wouldn't go on a date with?
Beth, Yellowstone, without a doubt.
I knew that one was coming.
What a bitch. See
Yeah,
you next Tuesday, and hope you feel good about it, Beth.
I'm not a big fan of Beth either. Her character is a little too much for me.
She's a bitch.
Dylan, I'd have to go Jess from New Girl. Zooey Deschanel,
Okay.
she's a great actress, but gosh, that character, she's all up in your face. She's gonna be singing half the time. I'm sorry, but I don't want to hear people around me singing. She's always going to try to point out my flaws and tell me what I need to do to change my life. And she just kind of lives in a fairy tale land. I love New Girl, the show, but Jess was probably my least favorite character. And I couldn't do it for more than about 15 to 20 minutes. I'd be like, all right, nope, I'm done. Like when Coach wanted to watch the Pistons game and not have to worry about her asking her all these questions, I couldn't do it.
All right. Well, mine would be Melissa, Stu's girlfriend from the first Hangover.
True. Good
Who-
call. God, she
who-
was a little bitch.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
She wouldn't let him. Had to lie to her that he was going to Vegas and told her that
Vegas.
he was going to wine country, checking his credit card statements,
Why
telling
don't you
him what
fuck
he
with the
needs to.
Just preposterous.
and the fact that they never let Stu do what he wants to do, and finally Stu having the nuts to just tell her off and say, "I'm done with you.
After he
Whatever
got-
this relationship is, in a healthy relationship, I think the guy should be able to do what he wants to do. That is not how this works." And then swearing in front of children, she is almost worse. Maybe that's where Taylor Swift got it from, but that's like the first person that popped in my mind, and probably the inspiration for my curveball question. So.
Yeah, she's a real bitch.
I can't remember what Zach Galifianakis said to her, but God, when she looks afterwards and goes, "Suck my dick,"
I'm thinking of getting my bartending license.
Yeah,
suck my dick.
Oh, what a guy.
Ethan, if I'm not wrong, like this would be like 5 years later. Was she the same actress who played Sheila in Suits? Or have you not gotten that far?
Yeah, no, she has
I think
to
it
be.
is.
Yeah, she probably is. I didn't like her either. That makes total
It
sense.
makes total sense. She's the same character, kind of just
She's
a
the
real
exact same attitude too.
exact same attitude, just a nasty person who thinks she's
Only
better
has
than you.
her way.
Exactly.
Rachel Harris?
I have no idea.
Very well could be. I don't know her name.
She sure looks similar. If not, we're gonna say it is and just go with it.
Yeah, but she plays
Well,
the
let's
same.
take a look here.
She plays the same role, and it is not a nice individual.
Oh, just a mean bitch.
Just a real vindictive person.
Yes, it was the same woman.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Total sense.
Makes
So-
total sense.
But all right, well, that puts a bow on episode 111 of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We'll be back next Thursday, hopefully a celebratory episode, and you can check us out on all of our social medias. Who knows? Maybe I might live stream my reactions to the national championship game. I think that's been some good content here, and maybe you guys might be able to see me get a new PR in my vertical jump. I set a new one on Monday night, maybe set another one the next Monday, but
So you beat the South Dakota State one from like 2014?
yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I've had about a couple of new ones. So
Okay.
the South Dakota State one was broken last year when Donovan Edwards had that was twice in a day, actually. So when Donovan Edwards had his first one, I was still sitting on the chair. I was still like composed, and I jumped up, so got a new one off that. And then the second one, I jumped so high I almost put my head through the TV.
Nice.
And then in the Ohio State game this year, when Rod Moore had the interception, I broke my vertical jump. And then when on the Milrose stop,
Yeah.
I broke the new PR for the
broke that
vertical
one.
jump. So hopefully I can show off my athleticism at least one more time here, and we'll be posting content. The segments of the show will be out on Friday. 3GTB podcast, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and then Facebook and YouTube. You can check us out, Three Guys Talking Ball, Facebook page as well. And thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you next time.